the insane history-making journey of All We Imagine is Light. Before we kick off, Payal, you want to introduce some members of your team over here?
Yeah, thank you all for coming today. We also have here with us Zico, who is the producer of the movie, and also Ronobir, who is the cinematographer and producer. It's a unique combo.
Payal, I want to start with what the last 5 months have been like. I think it's been, about 5 months since the film made history at Cannes. I wanted to ask you, what has been the most pinch me, holy shit, I can't believe this is actually happening moment? Let me give you a couple of options, and then you can tell me. You have the 8-minute standing ovation at Cannes after the world premiere. You have winning the grand prize, being handed the award by Viola Davis. You have the 5-star review from Peter Bradshaw in The Guardian, amongst many others. You have making it to the Times 100 list with a curiously penned note by Ayushmann Khurrana. You have, obviously, today we are on the eve of the grand premiere of the film at Mami at the Mumbai Film Festival, and you're about to release it in India, UK, and the US. So, and that delightfully viral red carpet dancing moment, which I think we all love. So what has been the most pinch me moment amongst all of that, or is it something that I haven't even mentioned?
I mean, all of it was a lot and was very surreal, and it's a film that we took very many years to make, and so getting selected was already, we were pleasantly surprised and honored. But I think all of it leads to one thing that I am the most excited still about, is that the film will release in India and people will go and buy a ticket to watch my movie. That makes me really happy.
I think this is a good time for you guys to announce the India release date, if you want to do the honors.
Yeah, sure. Let's go. Hi guys. Good afternoon. I'm Rana Daggubati, usually not known for films like these. But All We Imagine is Light will have a large pan-Indian theatrical release on the 22nd of November. And so one is, it's a huge honor for us to be part of this film and bring it to all of you guys. And thank you, Payal.
No, thank you.
Such an awesome film that you've made, and partnering with us to get this film out.
No, Rana, I wanted to ask you about this wonderfully unlikely collaboration. You are someone who has in the past championed, various films. We talked about 777 Charlie, Gadi, there was Care of Kancharapalam. But, we were discussing this earlier, and I still feel a lot of those films still have a very mainstream syntax. They're still very crowd-pleasing films in a lot of ways. This is the first time that you backed and presented a true blue indie darling with Payal. So what drew you to it? What made you feel like you wanted to be part of this journey?
So see, even now after 20 years in the movies, I still fail what is independent and what is mainstream. We always had a thought where cinema that had big song and dance was the mainstream cinema, and everything that had a unique story and emotion became independent, because it was always hard to release without big stars in it, without big other names attached. Right? And now I think India has gone to that phase. So like my career actually started with a film called Bommalata, which was an independent film that won national awards, but we couldn't get a theatrical release at that point. From then on, it was trying to find space for this. In India, unlike the rest of the world, there's no government grants or anything for filmmakers or art in that form. It's just always been the merit of the film and a few filmmakers that have really championed films out, right? So the few films that you mentioned earlier were really the start of many things that we did. All of them had a certain regional understanding. I mean, I come from Telugu cinema, so Care of Kancharapalam was the first film, which was, for us, an all-independent film, but the humor in that film made it slightly more mainstream.
It is such a lovely film. I will say that endlessly.
Thank you. But again, when I saw All We Imagine, right, to me, it was almost like watching a regular Malayalam film. To me, it was not independent in that sense, because Malayalam cinema has a storytelling or a narrative that it's used to in this style. And I just feel like with this, we're trying to break the format of how an independent film should be released in India, because it can't take the regular route of, here you go, you have a big pre-release and then there's 30 days of promotion and then the film is out. I think it needs a different cycle. So we started with the release in Kerala. We want to keep moving across different states. Tomorrow is the screening at Mami. And then they will follow a bunch of screenings across different states before we do a main theatre.
I do really want to ask you about what you said, the idea of a different approach to a film like this. But Payal, first I have to ask the same question to you. I know that you got various phone calls from various fancy people in terms of distributing this film. So what was it about Rana that you felt that these were the right hands for the journey of this film?
I think they had a very well-planned distribution approach, which would kind of understand what the film could do in different regions and also in the Kerala film industry. So the kind of the understanding of that it's not a film that we can just release nationwide without a thought to the kind of film it is. I felt they were very sensitive to that, and I really respected that look at distribution, because distribution can be just putting some money into something and releasing it, but to really think about how to place the film correctly, I felt that they really had a great sensitivity to that.
Thank you.
Payal, I also have to ask you the question that I feel like you might be tired of answering at this point, which is just about the journey of the film and where it started. I've heard you talk about this in various different countries and film festivals around the world, which is a wonderful problem to have. But just talk us through where it started. I believe this film has been with you for 6 years.
Yeah.
You were thinking about during your time at FTI.
Yeah, it took a long time. It was a film that when I was a student at FTI, I was making my final diploma project, and at that time I was in different hospital situations with 2 family members. And when you're a student filmmaker, you find everything very interesting. I think that's true of all filmmakers. We find life more interesting than cinema, and that is our privilege as filmmakers. So I was very keen to make a film, and I wanted to make a film about women who are in the working space, and a hospital provides a good kind of environment to have multiple issues that you can bring up. So I felt it would be the right space to make a film. But as I started researching more and the city came in a big way, that I realized that I wanted to make a much longer film, and it took many years then to write the script and do more research and raise funding for it. So that was the kind of starting point, and it's now finished after 5 years.
Finished is an understatement. It's now being celebrated. I think it was being released in, is it over 50 countries, is that right?
Yeah.
Hell of an achievement. Rana, I wanted to ask you, I feel like your average week as an actor, artist, producer, distributor, in terms of what you're watching, is not all that different to mine. It's a lot of mass moments and big BGM and entry sequences and thundering background score and swag. And I'm not looking down on those films, they can be immense fun, but I'm curious to know, as an audience, what do you feel you get when you step away from that and watch a film as meaningful and soulful as this one? Because it feels like it appeals to a very different part of our being.
See, one is, what fascinated me always, forget being a filmmaker or just as a human, right, is India is so diverse in its culture, and very little of that has translated to film. And I just feel like anything that's slice of life that we're able to showcase a certain culture in India needs to be shown to the rest of the country, because we're extremely different, but we're still unique and still alike. Yeah. So I think that's what cinema like All We Imagine does really well, where you see the story of Malayali nurses in Bombay, in a city like Bombay, which is really for everyone. It's your city, but it's not. And I've been in this city almost like 15 years now, coming and going, but there's a certain love that I have for the city, but if something wrong happens, it spits me right out back. Yeah. So I think that's the beauty that this film has, and I think it really requires more filmmakers to make cinema like this and just find unique ways to release them, that's all.
In terms of Bombay, I read an interview where you said, it's the city that never settles, which I love. I'm stealing that line. And Payal, I have to ask you about your relationship with the city. I was telling you earlier, this truly is one of the most achingly beautiful Mumbai movies I've ever seen, and I'm not at all just saying that. Mild spoiler alert, your film opens with these little sort of voiceover vignettes of everyday Mumbaikars talking about their relationship with the city. And I could have watched just 2 hours of that.
Yeah, I could make 2 hours of that.
I usually fell in love with a movie before I met a single main character or got a sense of plot. So, what is it about this city that really drew you in as a storyteller? Because the way you capture the feeling of Bombay in such a romantic but also like achingly tragic way.
Yeah.
And you've also said that the next film you may be working on is also based on the history of the city. So, what is it about the city that keeps drawing you in as a storyteller?
See, I am from here, so for me it's the city I know best. and it's a city that I didn't always grow up in. Like I would be studying in different parts of the country and coming back to Mumbai. And I think when you leave a place and come back, you see the changes more evidently, and you realize what the city comes to mean to you in different ages of your life and different times. And for me, the city is full of contradiction, like any big city is, because Mumbai, I mean, in some ways, for a lot of women, it's a city which is a little bit easier to navigate, to negotiate, to work late, compared to many other parts of our country. And but it's also such an expensive city, and it's a city where, like, to live comfortably, you need to do a lot of work, and you don't really get any time off. You spend like 1 hour in the train every day just to go anywhere. Then it rains and the harbor line will stop, and so these things are part of our life. But it's also a city that brings us delight. So it was all these contradictions that I have a love-hate relationship with it. I can't live without it, but it's a city with a lot of problems also.
There's a beautiful line in the film I really wanted to quote when you talk about your love of the city. It's somebody in the film talking about the spirit of Mumbai and how that's just a tag for dealing with hardship. And I think one of the characters says that you have to believe the illusion or else you'll go mad, which is a wonderful way of phrasing it. Rana, I wanted to ask you about this idea of pan-India. It's this tag that has been, and in a lot of ways this film sort of challenges that, because pan-India is known as this almost distribution tag. It's referring to specific kinds of casting and packaging for blockbusters to be in different markets. And here you have a film about Malayali nurses in Bombay that flits between Malayalam and Hindi and Marathi and English in bits. So do you hope that it's also a film that's pan-India in spirit, not packaging. So do you hope that this is the kind of pan-India film that we get to see more of?
See, I think the word pan-India has been coined with the release of Bahubali. That's the first time a Telugu film was watched in different places, and we knew that one story can be told to the rest of the country. But then that word is just overused in funny ways now. But I think truly in spirit, I think All We Imagine is a film that is not dubbed in a certain regional language. It's not going language to language. It has a source of being in Bombay. For an audience who speaks Hindi, it's as much their film. For an audience who speaks Malayalam, it's as much theirs. For everybody else who connects with the idea of women in a workplace, of just living.
ఇప్పుడు ఆపరేషన్ లేకుండానే మోకాళ్లకు ప్లాస్మా ట్రీట్మెంట్. మీ ఆర్థోపెడిక్ సమస్యలన్నిటికీ రోబోటిక్ టెక్నాలజీ ద్వారా తక్కువ ఖర్చుతో శాశ్వత పరిష్కారం. ఫ్రీ కన్సల్టేషన్. ప్రతి ట్రీట్మెంట్ పై 20% డిస్కౌంట్. ఈ ఆఫర్ కొద్ది రోజులు మాత్రమే. త్వరపడండి. V9 హాస్పిటల్స్ 9281465842.